Sticky Fingers, a Danny Diamond erotic mystery by Logan Black. Stealing a man's wife, that's nothing. But stealing a man's car, that's larceny. From Frank Chambers, The Postman Always Rings Twice, 1946. Sticky Fingers, Chapter 1. Hollywood, California, Thursday, September 12th, 1946. Betty Robinson didn't belong. It's what echoed through her mind as she trundled her cleaning cart through the halls of the Madison Hotel. The gold and ivory filigree wallpaper and elaborate wall sconces radiated wealth and status. Her cleaning cart was a garbage scow sailing a gilded sea, her otherness a palpable thing. Every time she set foot in these halls, she felt like a trespasser. And she loved it. The 20-year-old had been a maid at the upscale Hollywood Hotel for going on 6 months, and she wasn't tired of it yet. That was saying something for her, the girl whose working-class family gave her hell for going through dates and jobs like changes of clothes. What kept her at the hotel was that feeling of unbelonging, that illicit thrill of intruding in a world she had no right to be in. That, and the other things she'd been doing. She came to a junction in the hallway, glancing over her shoulder at the other maid behind her. "What'd you say, Madge? I take the upper half, you take the lower?" She indicated the room numbers on the wall with a nod of her head. "That new window solvent makes my head hurt," the mousy young woman complained, smacking her gum between her teeth. "Can't you do the bathrooms, and I can do the rest?" "So take an aspirin and call me in the morning," Betty quipped, already nosing her cart down the left hallway. "Trust me, it'll go quicker this way." "Easy for you to say," Madge groused under her breath. She heaved a sigh and trundled her cleaning cart the other way, savaging her gum as she went. The excitement bubbled through Betty as she counted down the numbers on the passing doors. Near the end of the hall, she found what she was looking for, room 636, and noted with satisfaction that there was no "Do Not Disturb" placard in evidence. She knocked. "Housekeeping!" When no one answered, she took the passkey from her pocket of her work dress, attached to her waist belt by a braided cord, and used it to open the door. She peered in, calling out again, but softer. "Housekeeping!" Nothing stirred. Spinning on her heel, she let that door close and approached the opposite door across the hallway. Again she knocked, and getting no answer, opened the door to peer inside. It, too, was empty. She secured a rubber stopper from her cart and chalked open the door. Then she took her cleaning bucket, crammed to bursting with brushes, rubber gloves, and every different cleaning solution known to man, and deposited it just inside the threshold. She also took her Hoover vacuum from the cart, leaned it against the door jamb, and plugged it into the nearby outlet. She stole a glance toward the other end of the hallway, where Madge had begun her rounds, noting with satisfaction the other young woman was already out of sight. Then she quickly stepped across the hall and let herself into room 636. The breath she had been holding exploded from her lungs as she pressed her back against the closed door. Her heart beat double time where it was lodged in her throat, but a smile rose unbidden to lips. She took a moment to savor the anticipation with eyes closed and chest heaving. Then she opened her eyes and took in the room before her. It was one of the larger rooms the Madison offered, and as well appointed as the hallway. There was a queen-size bed with a high arched headboard of polished mahogany and matching end tables. A separate sitting area was arrayed on the other side of the room, full of Louis XVI style furniture. A heavy writing desk sat in one corner, and next to it a leather overnight case. The bed was unmade, men's clothes strewn across the floor, and chairs. Other belongings littered the desk. Being one of the higher-priced hotels in the city, there was an adjoining bathroom, though Betty paid it little mind other than to make sure there was no one inside it as she walked by. She toured the room, letting her fingertips trail over the furniture and remnants of the prior evening as she soaked in the scene. She noted the pocket litter strewn across the desktop, a valet claim ticket, half-empty package of Chesterfields, a crumbled flyer for a big band show down at one of the piers. Her eyes lit up when they alighted upon the set of cufflinks cast off amidst the detritus. They were white gold rectangles with the initials J.W. inscribed on their face, and tiny sapphires for the period after each initial. She turned away from the desk and stooped to pick up the man's white shirt from the floor. Betty smirked to herself as she studied the garish red smudges on the collar. She knew what she'd find in this room the moment she laid eyes on Mr. 636. The day before, she'd been in the hall restocking her cart when he left his room. He was tall and broad-shouldered, early 40s, and tan, with a head of dark hair and the kind of chiseled jaw you saw on army recruiting posters. His blue serge suit and flashy gold watch spoke of money, but the way he moved exuded power and strength. She'd felt a flush of heat, and she knew she was blushing, but could do nothing about it as he strode toward her. He turned sideways to slide by the cleaning cart, gaze never leaving Betty's face. There was hunger in those eyes. In the space of a few heartbeats, he tasted her, knew her, and just as soon as had moved on. When he'd torn his eyes away and strode past her down the hall, it felt like the sun had set. She knew his type, had seen dozens like him in her months at the hotel. He was away from home, unchained from his wife and children, and hell-bent on making the most of it. She wanted him, wanted each of those men cast from the same mold. As time went on at the Madison, she realized it wasn't just them she wanted. Not really. What she wanted was to taste their life of privilege, if only for a night. To be anything but a working girl from an honest but poor family out of Long Beach, living at home and saying her prayers and going to church every Sunday. The realization only deepened her longing. But like the rest of them, Mr. 636 couldn't see past her maid's uniform. And so she hated him too. That's what had brought her to his room today, what had brought her to dozens of rooms since she started working at the Madison. Betty's lips twisted in a spiteful smile as she flopped onto her back in the unmade bed. She hiked up the hem of her work dress and satin slip as her hand slid between her thighs, thrilling with illicit pleasure as her fingers found her clit. She wore no underwear, having left them in her staff locker that morning. She was already wet, and as she began to test the warmth of her pussy with her fingertips, she couldn't help but think what Mr. 636 would think if he happened through the door at that very moment.